So now it begins to get a little bit more practical and a little bit more exciting. So we're in a concrete courtyard, about 3 meters square, and yet we can still do an awful lot in this environment rather than on the golf course. And everything that we're going to do here now has so many connotations for you. So both on the golf course when you play, in helping you to reduce scores, helping you to chip closer to make putting more possible, but also there's lots of aspects both within the learning and the technical curve that we've already discussed. They're going to help you in the long term with the full swing if you decide to start working on the full swing. So what is it that we're trying to do here? Well, as far as the task is concerned, the task is that the club head needs to be coming down, hitting the back of the ball, and then taking the earth forward of where the ball is. So that kind of like sets that whole action for how that club head should work. As we've talked about before, this is predominantly done by the body and the hands and arms reacting to that. But there are several other tasks that I want you to get involved with as you take this to the backyard. Technically wise, really the ball position can be virtually anywhere. I would prefer to keep it simple and have the stance a little bit narrower and to have the ball in the middle of the stance. And there's no real reason for that other than it's a good position to get the club going down. It's a good position to know that the hands are going to be further forward, and it's not confused by the angles of your shoulders open, your feet open, whether your shoulders are as open as your feet, where the club's coming from pathwise. So it's really quite simple to contemplate. So we take our stance, we take our posture. Every single movement that we ever make is from the balanced position where the weight is evenly distributed between the balls of the feet and the heels. Again, there's been a lot of misconception, and I've heard it a lot, that the weight should be on the balls of the feet. It's just incorrect, and it's probably because of people going too far back on their heels or not using the balls. But unfortunately, all that happens when we get to the balls of the feet is that we go to the toes, and that's one of the biggest reasons why the club comes over the top and we lose our balance. So we've got this position and we're kind of focusing on the left arm. We put that into position. Sorry, we're going to go into this position first. So we cross our arms, cross our chest, and it's just a feeling the feet on the ground, a tiny little movement of the shoulders, and then a little move forward. And we've got to imagine that we're going to get that club head going down at that point. Once we've got that tiny little movement, it's so small, then we get the arms out. And I want you to separate the hands and arms. So have the left hand here and the right hand here. Just put a little bit of bend in that wrist and a little bit of break in that wrist, and then just make the same body movement. And then notice how those hands go through that impact area. So what I'm really clearly trying to communicate here is that the hands do nothing at this stage. We're definitely just moving the body. We're making hardly any, if any, reset. We're just monitoring that club shaft and that club head and the club face through that impact area. So it's a tiny little turn and then a move forward. And if you wanted to just maybe exaggerate fractionally those angles that you started off with, then that would be even better, because that means that club's going to be coming down a little bit later and you're going to be guaranteeing getting that ball, and you're not getting those fat shots or those thin shots that cost you so dearly around the green. So now we're going to do a little exercise where we get the clubs involved. So we're going to take two clubs, we're going to set those wrists, we're going to set that ball position in the middle of the stance, and then we're just going to make that little move and then forward. Now what you can see here is the upper body is pulling these through and control it. There's no hit with the hands at all. There's no loss of that angle that we've got here in the clubs. That angle stayed, and we carry on seeing that in the left arm that the shaft is behind that, and that here the butt of the club is ahead of that club head. And you notice that we're catching the ground virtually at the same place, and this is the, if you can do this little thing, this sort of control, it's very hard to do this and use your hands. So it's the more that you can then sense that club head, the weight of the club head, see how softly you can hold on to that club and really feel where that club head's going. Because again, this is all about your ability to sense the weight of that club head and the force that you're applying it to discover the distances that you can hit it. Have a go at this. Stick a mirror in front of you if you've got the ability to do that, and then we'll come back tomorrow and we'll add a little bit more to this skill technique, and then eventually how to hole every single chip that you hit. Thank you for listening, and stay safe.